Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new National Party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.
There has been a lot of discussion about the proposed changes to the pension system in Grenada. It's quite a complicated subject, so we thought we would help to explain some of the key points over a series of short videos like this one. The first thing we need to do is to understand where we are, where we have come from, and where we want to go. Grenada has emerged from one of the most successful structural adjustment programs ever, certainly in the Caribbean. The government did this while enacting programs to protect its citizens, with reductions in income tax, removal of income tax on pensions, and increases in wages. But most importantly, they did all of this without the loss of a single job. We only need to look around at our neighbours to see what a remarkable achievement this really is. Barbados, for example, had a 10-year wage freeze, and workers only received a 5% increase after elections. But this was very quickly followed by significant job cuts. In Grenada, we have had numerous increases over the last 10 years, even as we went through the structural adjustment, and again, not a single job was lost. The government has also honoured its commitments to pensioners in all cases. The case of Mrs. Armstrong proves this point. The government has honoured the interpretation of the courts and paid out all monies due to ensure that the letter of the law has been followed. Two of the main areas of concern are the issue of gratuities and the issue of retirement age, and we're going to do separate videos to explain each of these in more detail, but the main things to remember are these. A gratuity is not a bonus. It's much more like a loan. A person retiring gets to take some of their money sooner rather than later and pays this back over time. This can be both good and bad. More money now means less money later, and we will discuss the issues surrounding this in our next video. But the key thing to remember is that the percentage of the gratuity doesn't change the amount that someone will receive. It only changes the timing of when they will receive it, and that too much too soon will leave too little later on. In relation to the second item, retirement age, it is no secret that everyone is living longer, and much of this is due to better healthcare, better nutrition, a safer working environment, and other government policies that protect people and help them to live longer and more active lives. That's the important part. People aren't just living longer, they're aging more slowly, and many still want to contribute beyond the current retirement age. Grenada has actually been rather late in changing its retirement age. Dominica is at 62. Trinidad and Jamaica are at 65. And in Barbados, the current age of retirement is now 67. There is also another matter of fiscal prudence. Because people are living longer in retirement, the total amounts paid out by government are increasing, and this needs to be balanced against the money that is coming in to ensure that each and every Grenadian can receive the retirement benefits that they are entitled to. And in many ways, that is what this discussion is all about. We need to ensure that whatever policies we agree to now are sustainable, and that they will work now and into the future. Let's think about all these things seriously and look at all angles. If you do, you will see the constraints that we must work within to achieve our overall objectives of ensuring that everyone has enough money to live comfortably in retirement. When you put it all together, it becomes fairly clear that the government's proposed solutions are very close to the ideal and are the best way forward for Grenada. Let's keep working together for the best of Grenada.
It is said that education is the key to success. The Grenada Development Bank believes this to be the truth, hence the reason we have made it our prerogative to ensure that your key is in safe hands with us. Here is how you can unlock your success with an education loan from the GDB. We offer you 3 loan options. We've got our regular student loan, our work-study student loan, and our special student loan. Our regular student loan is for persons who wish to pursue full-time tertiary level education. If you are a permanent employee who wish to study while continuing your employment, then our work-study loan is for you. Our special student loan is in collaboration with the government of Grenada, geared towards vulnerable persons who would like to pursue higher level education. Remember, you must have proof of admission from a recognized institution here at home or abroad. All our loans are 100% financing with interest rates as low as 5%. Get your funding from GDB today for your tertiary level education, your technical training or vocational training, even professional development, with up to 12 years to repay. Your future success is today. Grab it now.
Particularly for visiting teachers. As a former teacher myself, in fact in politics you're always teaching, it is always heartening, it's a heartening experience to interact with those who have been entrusted with a critical task of educating our children, which of course the future of our respective nations, of the region and of the world. The role of teachers is not one to be taken lightly. It is to be admired, of course, respected and emulated. But of course, on the flip side, sisters and brothers, teachers must conduct themselves in a manner deserving of such accolades. You know, there's two sides of the coin. The incredible mandate of teachers makes them an invaluable component of any country's developmental process. And as we strive now to promote sustainable development, your role takes an added significance. Because as we all know, children are in fact the best change agents. And the education is the best tool to bring about positive change. It is important, therefore, that we develop in them from the very young from the very young stage, an innate desire to adopt a holistic worldview, to always look at a broader picture and to have the long-term vision of growth. Sisters and brothers, over the next few days of your conference, you will be focusing on the theme very appropriately so. Leadership in the times of crisis, promoting sustainable development. I firmly believe that the starting point of any discussion of this important topic is understanding what it is we are all talking about. It is in this context, therefore, we must understand what is leadership. What is qualified or classified as times of crisis, and what is therefore also sustainable development. What is leadership, sisters and brothers? Undoubtedly, leadership might mean different things to different people. But as one leader rightly stated, and that happens to be my own personal view, leadership is the ability to transform vision into reality. On any given day, being a leader can be very, very challenging. And in a period of crisis, it becomes even more so. Crises are an inevitable part of existence, particularly of leadership. The difference between a crisis and a resolution is a human reaction. By that I mean, how do we, especially as leaders, react to the crisis in our daily life? I've long held the view that leaders are not necessarily born. They are made, shaped by circumstances and the time. A crisis is a perfect opportunity for the making of a good leader. Why? Because a crisis demands particular qualities, such as an effective management, calmness, or level-headedness, the ability to rally public opinion by sharing information decisiveness, and a passion for realizing the best results in the interests of the greater good. These characteristics might not only be revealed when tested. In September 2004, we in Grenada faced an enormous crisis when Hurricane Ivan wreaked havoc across our island, destroying a significant proportion of our building stock, leaving many of our nationals homeless and unexpectedly unemployed. As leaders, whether in business, churches, or schools, despite dealing with our own personal losses, we had to motivate our people, encouraging them to see hope in a similarly hopeless situation. Last year, the region faced a phenomenal crisis with back-to-back Category 5 hurricanes, affecting multiple islands and causing unprecedented damage and destruction. As the then chairman of Carriacou, I visited some of the affected islands with several of my colleagues as a sign of solidarity with our fellow Caribbean people. In my view then, it wasn't easy to see a brother or sister hurting or feel so helpless because the sheer magnitude of the disaster makes anything but a magic wand seem absolutely inadequate. But having experienced a similar crisis myself, I could have genuinely empathized and offer advice based on the Grenada experience, sharing what we have done to rebuild and recover and to promote sustainable development. With increasingly unpredictable weather patterns and storms of increasing intensity becoming the new norm, we are equally likely to experience more crises of that nature, which inevitably puts leaders to the test and requires us to adapt to the new normal. As leaders, we must ensure that there is a complete understanding of the overall impact of every decisions and actions that are taken during such periods. It's important that decisions are not made hastily, but with considerable thought, particularly as it relates to the potential impact and consequences, sisters and brothers. Importantly too, leadership involves serious consultation and being equipped with the relevant facts of the situation and talking to persons to obtain diverse views from which to draw an appropriate conclusion and to devise a solution to a particular problem. This is particularly important in situations where unpopular actions need to be taken. In situations where conflicts exist, there must be a clear understanding that there is no complete righteousness on any side of the fence. Good leadership requires a willingness to compromise, to understand that solutions are found in the ability to be flexible, and to understand that solutions we're doing that always have the greater good must be the final solution. As leaders, our decisions must be able to withstand the test of times. Therefore, critical decisions should always be sustainable over the long term. In other words, whatever we do, not just be about today. What about tomorrow? What about 20 years from now? What is the impact of those decisions? This is directly related to promoting sustainable development of any country. Sustainable development speaks to employing elements that will collectively and over the long term facilitate progress. The goal is to maximize the use of available resources to achieve the greatest benefit, and to do so responsibly so that you do not threaten future development. Bearing in mind, sisters and brothers, that future generations should have similar access to those actions that those results to facilitate further growth and development. To ensure that leadership is sustainable over time, it requires firm conviction. We must realize and believe that the decisions we make are intended for the benefit of the majority, not only for a select group of persons. Backlash based on some decisions and actions are inevitable, but that is where conviction comes in, sisters and brothers. Conviction comes in. My friends, leadership is not, and I repeat,
this morning. Let me first say Happy New Year to all of you and best wishes for a happy, healthy, and of course, a productive 2019. I am Press Secretary Philomena Robertson. Welcome to our first post-cabinet press briefing for 2019. It's been quite a while, but we're happy to be back, happy to start the year on a very positive note. Lots of positive developments, of course, taking place in Grenada, a few challenges in the mix, but as Prime Minister Dr. the Right Honourable Keith Mitchell often says, we are on a good wicket, so let us continue to bat wisely. With us this morning is the Minister for Infrastructure Development, Public Utilities, Energy, Transport, and Implementation, Honourable Gregory Bowen. And of course, we'd hear from Minister Bowen about many things that are going to come on stream in 2019. And of course, to look ahead, we also need to look back at some of the achievements that we would have made in 2018. Honourable Bowen, the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much, Madam Press Secretary. And let me join you in wishing the viewing and listening public a very healthy, wealthy, fruitful, and prosperous 2019. And to you, the members of the press here present, I wish you the same and look forward to your continued involvement and cooperation in bringing information to the nation so that we can all be on the same page and Grenada can continue to move forward. As indicated to you, the contents or the focus on this press brief will be achievements and what can we expect in 2019. 2018 was a year in the period since the commencement of the program that brought prosperity to our nation. We came out of the doldrums and we continue to work there, not without its challenges, as I said, because wherever we have to do anything, we must examine the fiscal results, implication for the country. And we are to do the things that will benefit the country, notwithstanding it may impose some restrictions on the way that we want to do things. I therefore must remind you that from 2013 to 2018, we started the program at the end of 2013, the beginning of 2014. Remember, our joblessness, rate of unemployment, moved from 42% to 21%, which is a significant achievement. We must therefore continue on this path. 21% is still extremely high. We must look first into single digits, and then on the lower side of the 10 spaces, or the 10 integers on the single digit scale. We have made great strides with our economic achievements. 5.2% is the expected growth rate for 2018. And this is significant. And this is not all the government's figure. This figure is from the ECCB and endorsed by the many visits of the IMF and other financial institutions. Our debt to GDP ratio has been reduced from 108% to 62.7% at the end of 2018. Remember, we have dropped the unpaid claims, and this is of significant importance, because unpaid claims really refer to the local people that we owe, the stricture in the financial circulation in our economy. And this was over $100 million. It is now down to $3.8 million. That means we have paid people very close. And these are not monies that we pay, or external persons. But when we pay this circulates in the economy. And that is why perhaps we could look back at the end of 2018 and we see the great activities that was going on at the end of the year. We do not have to look far to see from whence these came. In 2019, we could look forward to more of this. Not so much of the part of the unpaid claims in the Treasury, that's where we take goods and services and we don't pay people, but we also owe people for judgments and other things, not in the normal trend. And this year we expect to make a significant payment out of that in particular. More monies will be circulating in the economy. And I'm sure you'll hear more of this from the Minister and Ministry of Finance. So what we see this year, we expect to see better. When we pay the small people, they pay the wholesalers, and the wholesalers can order. And when they order, we collect a little bit of taxes. So the country, the government can get activities moving. We can now buy the medical drugs and so forth, the hospitals. We can buy the supplies and things for the ministry. But more importantly, the private sector will get a lot. The small persons will get things going, and jobs will end up being the net result in the economy. Prior to the adjustment program, remember, so 2013 to 2018, 70 cents of all that we collect must go towards paying wages and salaries. At the end of 2018, that is down to 53 cents. So we have 17 more cents, right, in our coffers that we can spend on capital goods and services. Extremely important. And as we look forward to 2019, we know that this will go down further. And the target rate is way under the 40s. Again, we must stick to our fiscal responsibility rules and laws. Otherwise, we will not achieve this. There are lots of demands and pressure to deviate. But once you deviate, you're going right back to where you started, and perhaps even pre-2013. A significant amount of sums are paid. And we know now that we're looking to reinstitute something for the benefit of our people who, particularly the public workers who have left and who now do not have a pension coming to them. And we know that that's one of the areas that we're working with our union partners in order to bring things forward. At this point in time, I know that you're seized of a lot of the information. The latest development is that we've asked the unions to come back to the table. You're all aware of the change in the last offer from government, 8% and 8 years reduction as opposed to the 25% and the 12.5 years. This was not accepted by the union team, but we've invited them on Friday back to the table so that we can negotiate and move forward. One important aspect that we must continue during this is that we do have some people who have made the 26 and 2/3 years of service. They're out there now. They're not working in the system now. We have agreed in principle on what the pension should be. All that we are discussing now, negotiating, is what the advance, that loan that you'll take on the pension. But what about these poor people out there? Okay? If they had left in 2014, good, they will have nearly 4 years of monthly pension to collect as a back roll. They cannot buy medication. They cannot look after themselves. So if we come to some form of agreement halfway in and just agree on the pension, in fact, we have agreed on it, but if we decide to implement the component that you have agreed upon, I know we have hundreds, maybe thousands of these people out there who have left the public service, and immediately they will be entitled to so many months. So they would not be going to their pastors, to their churches, to neighbors, to representative offices, and to ask for something to go by just to exist. So it is extremely important that we work together on achieving a result. And what we have already achieved, we can go ahead with it. Those who are working still, they're not entitled to it as yet. But we must look beyond ourselves and say there are those of us who have already served the country and who are out there and who could even benefit from the agreements that we have made so far. And this is of extreme importance. And the nation must look at it. And we must add our voices into the mix to say, well, get on with the bit that you have already agreed upon. And you could negotiate the rest. I think this will, people will see the benefits, and I'm sure that we'll be able to come to a conclusion in that regard. We know of the many people who have received jobs from the environmental wardens that we have put in place. The many people, the 172 students only in 2018, over $50 million paid scholarships, SGU around the world, Morocco, wherever they are. We still have to give them a stipend when they go to Cuba. We still give them a stipend when they're out. So a lot of emphasis has been placed on our education system, both here in Grenada and abroad. Primary, secondary, tertiary. And we'll continue in this trend in 2019. But what we must remember, if we don't follow our fiscal rules, we will not be able to do that. our children now, they've looked at those who went last year, and if we only follow up, then they will not receive anything. So we as a nation must continue to look at how the government maintains the fiscal rule. It is only because of these actions that we can continue to serve our people. Housing. And we now in the phase where we're doing 600 more homes in 5 locations across Grenada, and you know from Carriacou, Bushiju, St. David, St. Patrick, and St. Mark, all of these, the construction has started, and we expect that by the end of the year, we'll be able to start taking applications from residents, from Grenadians, to occupy these homes. And it is reported that there is a significant difference in the present size of the apartment. Here there, you heard the first time that it was very small. We cannot dictate to the donors that you give us a wide room enough so that we can, quote unquote, sprawl, but it is much better in size. Yes, and I know that Grenadians will be happy for this. So applications, let's just look forward to applications by the end of the year. The Green Climate Fund, we have mentioned again, NAWASA has received $125 million as grant on the G-Cruise project, and we are working on this. We have the consultants on board. It is coming through the GDB, etc., and through the German GIZ firm. So many projects will be placed on stream. This year, it has been predicted that we'll get a significant amount of heat and dryness, and our waters could be affected. So this project will significantly alleviate this problem in the future because it is carded to be built in dams and reservoirs throughout the country. And 125 million, while it sounds a lot, and it will do a lot, it is insufficient to take care of all of NAWASA's goods. And why did we get this 125 million? Because we followed the fiscal rules. If we did not, then Grenada would not have been benefiting from this significant sum in grant. So in 2019, we must continue to follow the rules, and we're asking the nation to look at us and to help wherever they can so that the government can continue to follow the fiscal rules and more monies will come. The climate change project, again, with the environment, the climate smart city in St. George, where we'll be looking at traffic congestions along the Grandans Road. You know, it's 2 hours to go to Grandans. Yes? Time it, time yourself. In the peak hours, it's extremely difficult. That is killing production, it's bad for the economy, and it is polluting the atmosphere. Coming through St. George as well is extremely difficult. This program, besides doing a lot of other things, will tackle these 2 difficult areas. And it's over $300 million. Most of it will be grant. Why Grenada again? Why are we getting this? It's because we maintain fiscal responsibility. And as we deviate, we not only lose the project, and we could lose the project in the middle of it, right? So it may take 4 years. And in the second year, we get some, and we deviate, the rest could go. The haircut that we got, in fact, I personally had a conversation with some investors, and they come every year. And you know what they told me? That they were not happy that we got them to give up their monies. Imagine you lent us over $500 million, yes? And you have to give that up. So they're watching everything that we do here. And they have recourse, according to it. If we fall up again, the noose will simply go right back around our necks. I could remember negotiating this with the then Permanent Secretary, Timothy Antoine. And we have to thank the Almighty that we got through with it. And that is why I will always be a sticker to stay the course, not for myself, but for Grenada. Because if we do not stay the course, then all of us will suffer. The little ones will suffer. Millstone will come back around our necks. I want to make this point so that we do not embark along that road in 2019. The St. Patrick's Road, that's on stream, this will come on. And all of this will help with infrastructure. The Kuwaiti funded and OPEC funded Farm Road project, that is on stream. In fact, we already have the contractor for the St. Patrick's Road, and the tenders will be out pretty soon for the farm roads. All the designs have now been completed. Again, the construction going up. We know that in the first half of 2018, we did 43% over the first half of 2017. And we want to make 2019 climb with the same ratio. And construction is on a high. It dipped a little bit because of the completion of the 2 major hotels, but it must continue to go back up. Let me just give you an indication of how construction will be. The airport runway and road rehabilitation project, we've heard of this one? Yes, this will commence. They're on stream now. The China Harbor, who has a contract for this, financed by the Chinese government, the Exim Bank. A lot of things that we are ensuring. You might say, well, why don't you move? But we must maintain our fiscal rules. And when we have conflict between one and the other, we must sit down and take the time to get it done. Because our going out and breaking the debt to GDP ratio, it doesn't care. We may go with that project, but what about the project? That one is 63 million US. But what about the 300 million EC that is in jeopardy? What about the 125 million that could be in jeopardy? So fiscal responsibility could mean a little delay in start, but at the end, it will be for the benefit of the country. Our St. John's Medical Center, the Simone Cultural Center, Carriacou and other police stations, the Moncton Child Development Center, the Grenada Education Enhancement Project, and that's where CDB will be financing a lot of most schools. The taxpayers know we must borrow to get our schools up and running. Some of them need rehabilitation, and that's what we do now. We have rehabilitated a significant quantity, but we need more, and this is on stream. So these are only some of the externally financed projects, coupled with the locally financed project, the many roads that we have to do locally, our special projects where we have over 70, 80 projects per year spread throughout Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. And we are feeling the effect of this because these get right down into the village level. It helps with drainage. It helps with a lot of things in our communities. I want to mention now a little about our transport. In 2019, we'll be implementing the rules. Park and take your bus to come to certain areas in St. George. We have discussed it already, but it will be coming in 2019. We have the garage rules. One, the environmental aspect, where people in an environment, a domestic environment, where they do spraying and other things, they have the oil going into the earth and so forth. This will be a thing of the past because the regulations, they're there now, but they will be expanded and enforced. We have had the meetings with all the garage owners. We did not just come and pour down their throat. We make them realize that these things are in place, and then we'll be taking care of it from 2019. Significantly, too, is the quality of our garages. When you bring your vehicle to a garage, you must have qualified person there, and you must get your job. And you have your Consumer Protection Act now. That is there already. So if you did not get the service, you could go under the Consumer Protection Act and demand that you get the service. At the same time, we want to help our garage people so they do not get involved in a lot of services, unsatisfactory services provision. We must protect them. So they must have qualified persons. At the Ministry of Education, TAMCC will be working with them, so you have people who could fix the transmission, the brakes, the engine, the electronics. So you'll see a certification on the garage. And as I advise them, not every garage must get involved in transmission. Not every garage must get involved in electronics. Specialize to provide the services to the people. Our oil and gas situation. I just want to make it abundantly clear that we have, over the years, since 1996, and we entered into an arrangement with one investor who did not deliver, and your humble servant ensured that Grenada got out of that contract, not because we wanted to run an investor, but because that person was not delivering. Over the process, during the period, we invited many companies to come to Grenada. Petrobras, we invited the Canadian National Oil Company. We invited many, but none of them came. Why? That particular RSM company that is engaged in Grenada, nobody said it's a company that loved litigation, and nobody came around. Only one company came in, and it's GPG. So to say that we did not scout and look for companies, oh, we did that. We went far and wide. The British company, BP, we all asked them. They came in, and before they could give a proposal, they said, whom do you have around? RSM? Well, I'm not coming. If they're here, I'm not coming close to them. And that was it. And this company stayed there. They did not deliver as fast as we wanted, but over the time now, they did just a year or so ago. They're the one that did the multi-million-dollar exploration, the first well drilling. That showed clearly that Grenada has gas, at least, in its waters. We must now go further and drill other wells so as to determine where we should move, where we should drill the well for production method, and whether or not do we have it in sufficient quantities. So why don't we look? This morning I listened and I heard someone elaborating on where you can get the information in any country on oil and gas. Just do that. You'll see the report on Grenada, vetted by the Blackwater Laboratory in the United States of America, Texas. You'll see exactly what is there. And that is why we have expanded the reach to get additional persons to come in to drill in those areas. And for those who say that, you give the entire waters, 11 blocks was given in order that you can explore. But we must remember, after a maximum of 4 years, you must either develop all the blocks or return half to the state. So after 4 years, and when we decided, how will we know what's there? The person wants more, you say, take all. You want all? Well, take all. You either develop all, or you explore all and give us half back. So after 4 years, half returns to the state. And after another 2 years, half of the remainder returns to the state. So when you grant a license for a number of blocks, in fact, investors do not like that because they have to take the large number of blocks and they have to spend a lot of money exploring. So you find they ask for 1 or 2. If you could entice them to take 4, that's great. They may hold it because they don't have the money to do it, but after 4 years, it's returned to the states. Whether they spend money or not, it's returned. After a maximum of 8 years, you could only keep 25%. And you must develop that 25% of the blocks. If you don't, it goes back to the state. So if we don't understand this, and if we figure that you give the people all the waters, they have to work. What RSM did is that they took a large number of blocks and then they immediately went into force majeure. Force majeure means I cannot perform, so time must stop. And that is when your humble servant say time must not stop for the people of Grenada. I was accused of all sort of things. But I took the battle to the international community, and today, Grenada can now benefit and has already begun to benefit from the decision that I took. So people must know how this functions. And at the same time, look at the number of years that you take. Sometimes it takes a minimum of 20 years from the time you grant your license to when you start to produce. And in a period when the price of oil fell and everybody wanted to go, some people gave up the license that they get. You had to coax people to stay around. And even now, with the price of oil being low, they don't want to stay around. So it's a battle. And they move into places where it's already proven, and they join an existing company. So we have to be very careful, otherwise we run everybody at this point in time. Guyana, who started before us, they have found not only gas, but oil and gas. So what will investors do? They want to leave poor little Grenada. They want to leave there and move to where they have lucrative markets. And we have to ensure that we keep some investors for ourselves. You do not go to them now. They don't want to come. So in a nutshell, this is what I will present so far. And I have other things there. I'll give you the opportunity for the questions, and I pass you back to the moderator.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister Gregory Bowen. Members of the media, the floor is now open for questions. As per usual, please identify yourself and your media house before you pose your question.
Good morning, Karima Lois, the New Today newspaper. Minister Bowen, you stated that at the end of the year, we can, or you can expect applications coming for the new houses. What are the criteria for persons who will be applying for this?
Primarily need. The housing ministry, they have developed a needs criteria list. So maybe your income, whether or not you already have a home or access to a home, and maybe the family size and so forth. These will be it, but it'll be basically on need. So if you can approach maybe and get your big, lovely houses because of your income through a mortgage, then you'll have a smaller chance in the analysis than someone who cannot and who does not have.
In relation to the transport rules that you spoke about, parking and taking a bus down to the city, can you explain that a bit for me, please?
That, the intention, we're looking at both sides of the tongue of St. George, the Tantine side and the Queen's Park side. So you should park at Queen's Park and you take a shuttle and you come into St. George. That shuttle will be moving to and fro, very quickly. So all the cars and so will now not be coming into the town to cluster traffic. You will have special vehicles that will go through, yeah? Emergency vehicles, etc. So you would not have that cluster in town. And from this side, we're looking at somewhere in the Tantine area that you can park and move. The shuttle will be bringing you to town as well. So park and shuttle in.
Okay. And this is expected to ease the traffic congestion?
The traffic flow through town. Now, if you're going from Guave to Grand Anse, the Climate Smart City will propose a route. We may have to expand Grenada Cemetery all over Old Fort so that you can come down to join the Grand Anse Road. But you may be able to pass through certain areas in town. These are the vehicles that should be going to town. But if you just come into town to walk and to do something, you park and you shuttle. And full fare shuttle you from the airport now. And a lot of people love it. So you shuttle into town, you shuttle back, maybe a little bag of groceries and so, to your vehicle, and you move up. And we are now discussing with the private sector, the buses, how many shuttles you should own. In fact, they have asked government to participate. If you have to get 4 shuttles, the private sector may put 60%, they're asking government to put 40% in the cost of the shuttle. It will make sense for us to do that to ease up the congestion in the town.
The rules, when can we see them coming on stream?
The rules?
The transport rules in relation to
the new laws and that we want to pass, we have to go to Parliament, I think, by the first quarter. Legal Affairs have redrafted those rules, and we want to implement them by the first quarter of 2019. Remember, just at the end of this 2018, we passed the rules for the wardens to be there. So if you have less traffic, and if you cannot park as you wish with the wardens looking after the parking in the town and elsewhere, then you'll be flowing freely. You come in, you're allowed to go out. If there is a park, the limited parking, and it's available, you take it. Otherwise, you continue to drive out of the city. Right. So you take the chance, I might get a park, you drive, no park, drive out of the city. Yes.
In relation to the oil and gas exploration, last night on Beyond the Headlines, I believe Prime Minister was a guest there, and he stated that millions has gone into the Treasury through oil and gas exploration. Can you explain that for me, please? Like, where and how did that come about?
Good. Long ago, when the price of oil was high, you used to pay a bonus, a signature bonus. In other words, you're fighting to sign to get a license. So as you get a license to explore, you don't know if there's anything there, but you pay for that. As the price of oil fall, nobody pays anymore. So the investor, being granted a development license, invested into the Treasury. Good? Millions of dollars. And I remember saying that in a sitting in the House, how did we in 2013 got through a situation where you had to sell to pay, sell buildings to pay salaries, sell other capital goods to pay salaries. And when we looked at any program that we started way back, and we left office in 2018, that I stood in 2009-10 to fight the appeal in the international court and to get rid of one investor and get a proper investor. And at the point in time, nobody wanted to come. And through that investor, we got millions of dollars into the Treasury because they put, anticipating that they will find oil and gas. There's no burden on the Treasury. Now, if they don't find the oil and gas, they lose it. If they find it, well, they'll make it back. So that's the situation, that's how they all reach into the Treasury. And it was not an easy feat because nobody gives you anything before, because the price of oil had dropped so much that nobody even wanted to invest much more to pay bonuses or to give you advance on your own weight. And this is not advance where they will get it back. You know, you find nothing. So the state benefited from millions of dollars into the Treasury. And Grenada came out of the rut because of that particular investment. Yes.
Earlier this year, the closure of Petrotrain in Trinidad has led Caribbean countries to look for a different source for petrol. Where are we with that?
The Petrotrain eventually stated that they will supply until the end of a period for some component in the petroduction products, petrochemical projects. You know, you have diesel, you have gasoline, you have gas, and so forth. Carriacou said that they will buy in bulk. You could get all these products just away from Aruba, a different refinery, yes? Jamaica cannot supply all, but you have sufficient refinery. You could get it out of the U.S. But Carriacou as a whole say that we'll buy jointly and buy in bulk. Yes.
Lastly, during the sitting of Parliament, you disclosed that there was a lawsuit coming. Sorry, let me see if I can get it right. The situation between Digicel and Flow in relation to the LTE license. Could you expound a bit on that for me? And you know, is it possible for the license to be revoked in given the situation?
Well, I'll explain and answer your question. Way back, many years ago, when we started giving the 700 band, right? The 700 megawatts, that's the band that they want to do the LTE in. Just by way of explanation, again, you have the 1900 bands, and you make the phone call on it. It's still a phone call you'll make, but not a lot of data will be going through. And the smaller the wavelengths, the more difficult some things are. And the larger the wavelengths, the easier for something to be done. So companies now started to apply for what we call the 700 band. Digicel and the Flow applied about the same time. But Digicel applied for a specific region in the band that they had no contest with from another provider. Flow applied for a region, but ILSCOM also applied for that region. So if we had no ILCOM, then Flow would have gotten it. But we have ILCOM and Flow. We asked them to go and sit around the table and see if you can move up and down, because there are other bits there, you know. But nobody wants to go there. Why? Because in this specific band, you have the mighty and powerful producers in the US making phones there. So it's cheap. If you go here, guys will say, "I'll wait 2 years. We don't make it here." And your price will be higher. But when you go where it's been mass produced for the others, that's why they want to go there, both parties. So we understand. So we asked them, can you share up this thing amongst yourselves in the manner that the ECTEL have decided, that is 6 megawatts up, 6 megawatts down. Shift the 6 wherever you two wish. So they're still fighting, but Digicel alone there. So what do? Tell Digicel, wait until you have these two? No, so Digicel was granted the license. And if these two parties come back to us and say, here, we have a plan, they would have been granted it right away. So what Flow has now done, they said that we favor Digicel by granting them, not explaining the conditions to the public and to the consumers. And they've asked the NTRC to revoke the license. Now the minister grants a license on the advice of ECTEL in St. Lucia and the NTRC here. At the point in time, they threatened. But since then, I have been solved. ECTEL has been solved and the NTR has been solved, so the case is in process now. And they're asking the court to review and to force the minister. So if the court says, in the extremely unlikely case that the court says revoke, okay. So then, the court is its own rules, and so then the license, will be revoked. But it is only in these extreme circumstances. And after listening to the situation, and you know what has happened now? ILCOM, a local company, is now saying, oh, so if they're asking for this, and I want that too, so now they're going to take the minister to court, ILCOM as well. You can't blame them. Why shouldn't you blame them? They must protect themselves as well. And they're going to take the NTRC to court, and they're going to take the other one to court, not because of wickedness or hostility, but that's the way they have to safeguard themselves.
Situation right now, ILCOM is taking
that they have.
That's a possibility.
As I said, that is a possibility. Remember, as I said at the time, the possibility from Flow has gone from possibility to reality. But ILCOM, obviously, and we knew before that's what the laws will do. What will Digicel do too? Good. Would Digicel stand idly by? We don't think so. They have to protect themselves. They may ask to be joined in the lawsuit, or they may go and propose a counter lawsuit. We have all lawyers advising us of all these possibilities. They can't sit and take the debt as a sheep and not go and defend in front of the court. Yes? So it may get more entangled and more entangled. Yes?
Rikisha St. Louis Government Information Service. Minister, there's a meeting scheduled tomorrow between teachers and their union ahead of the meeting with the engagement committee on Friday. A lot of people are concerned because there is a possibility that the teachers, if they make another offer that is unsustainable and unaffordable to government, that they may take to the streets again. What assurance can you give?
Well, I can't give any assurance. What I believe is that sense will prevail and the teachers will not embark, upon that particular route. And look at the situation. I know that every time any union wants a meeting with the workers, on the employer's time, they engage the employer. The union has not engaged the employer. So, what can be done? You're not legitimately off the job. The teachers who stay away from the job, if the time off is, what, 2:30? That's what it is in some schools. So you'll be off the job illegally during that period. When the public workers union want to have a meeting, they're right. They ask. You either have it after working hours, or you simply ask the employer to allow the people to go to a meeting. And nearly 100% of the time it is done. But in this particular case, the duty has not asked for a meeting. So teachers must be aware of this. And I know that they have the capacity, to make a decision, both on the time off and on the decision and where we should go. That's why I stressed in the beginning the rules and the fiscal rules. The asking for the 25% is simply unsustainable. And it cannot be done without going outside the fiscal rules. And once you go out there, you call down the millstone, not only around the necks of the people, but on every Grenadian. And this statement that only some sacrifice, everybody in Grenada sacrificing. Everyone. Because who pays the public servant? It's the taxpayers. And some of us, like when I tell one person, well, why don't you're wicked, why don't you pay the teachers? I say, well, government. I say, but who pays the government? And they look back and scratches. How does government get the money? They collect taxes from you. The only other thing that we get is grant, And you cannot take. No country will give you monies, whether loan or grant, to pay salaries. Particularly when you're breaking the fiscal rules that the international community worked with you to set. So I believe that the teachers will will make the correct decision. If they don't, it will be, very unfortunate. And let us look at the situation where you're asking, I'm working to rule. I'm not doing one thing more than I should do. Yes? So if you work to rule, then you're saying that everything must be as the rule says.
Minister, just an update. You mentioned the 2019 transportation rules, that's with the shuttles and so forth. Sometime last year, there were discussions of implementing public transportation, especially for the night workers, hotel and so forth. You have an update on that?
We met with the hotel staff and we met with the bus association. I must give them credit. They are prepared to help and they're prepared to do it. They demanded that we put the rules in place, because if 4 buses work this week and another 6 are looking on the side and they see that they make something, then they'll flood the business and everybody will break down. So they ask us to manage the bus. So we say, you 4 working today in the Guave route, the St. Andrew route, the St. David route, another 4 will be working. And they're asking that the state should meet any shortfall in the income. In other words, they have the expenses to pay and they must make the small profit. If they don't make it, the state should meet the shortfall. So if we start with 4 buses, eventually it's like how you help the airlines when they come to Grenada. It is not unreasonable, and we're looking at this now. We hope, because we must be fiscally responsible and we do not have a lot of funds to play with. So we hope they will be able to do it without government intervening. But once there is significant evidence that government should, I think we will support it.
How soon are we looking at?
The first quarter of 2019 for all the transportation initiatives to be put in place.
Okay, we have no more questions, I take it? Well, thank you very much, ladies of the media. Minister, you have a final comment?
I just want to make a comment on the pension issue. It's not so much the pension, it stemmed from that. There is the feeling around the that, you know, something untoward was the reason for the moving around of public servants, particularly at the senior level. But I want to assure you that, as the Prime Minister announced, more than 11 public servants will be moved. 11 public servants at the PSR acting level. But you have junior, in fact, in the Ministry of Infrastructure here, the SAO, the AO, if you're looking at the SAO is going on leave, someone will come in here, and the AO is moving away into another area, so another AO must come into the ministry. And by doing that, when you move one from this ministry into that because of the need, you got to move someone to fit in there. You take somebody from maybe a lower position and put them acting. So there'll be lots of movements in the ministry. It has been said, you know, that some persons were moved because of victimization. No. But what is more distressing is that when you move persons, they're called, particularly at a high level, they're called by the cabinet secretary and discuss, and you discuss where they're going, what possibility that they have. You hear if they have any objection, although the decision rests with the Governor General and the Public Service Commission. That's where it rests. But we must talk to you. If somebody is coming to me as my secretary, most times I'll be spoken to. Most times I don't know the person, so I can't say nay or yea. When they come, maybe after 1 year, but then I can't tell the Public Service Commission anything by that time. Not that they have to take what I say, you know, but they just give me the opportunity. Such and such a person is coming to you. Yeah? They might tell me such and such a permanent secretary is coming to me. I know most of the permanent secretaries. And I may say, well, in this particular case, X may perform better than Y because X seems to have a knowledge of the technical capabilities, you know, of the ministry. And I know that there are some persons I cannot go on operating health. Yes, so I could say this person, they have a lot of, you know, not necessary health thing to be a doctor to sign it, but just dealing with people and patients. Here in the Ministry of Works, you have to deal with people, you have to deal with equipment, you have to deal with a lot. So that I may just throw in my little piece, and I'm sure the Public Service Commission, they may go back, listen to it, not listen to it. You know, they make the decision. And I want to say that if you speak to some person about certain things like that, you don't expect it to hit the streets or reach anywhere whatsoever. Sometimes when people are spoken to and they come into my ministry, if I'm not afforded the opportunity, I don't know. But if the cabinet secretary, who is a lead civil servant, speaks to anybody, particularly a high level as the permanent secretary, it should never hit the street. It should never be on the news, on the radio. You know, in the military, that I had the opportunity for us to pass through, discipline is at the highest level between the 4-star general and the 3-star general. You may figure, well, they're so close. That's when discipline is. So at the higher you up in an organization, a private organization, that is where discipline should be most. Not that you shouldn't have discipline right through, you know, but discipline must be exercised there the most. If you fail there, then under you, nothing could go proper.
Thank you very much, Minister, for those closing statements. You would have brought clarity to a lot of subjects here this morning. To our viewers and our listeners, thank you so much for joining us. We hope to see you again next week. I am Press Secretary. Do have an enjoyable week. See you next time.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new National Party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.
There has been a lot of discussion about the proposed changes to the pension system in Grenada. It's quite a complicated subject, so we thought we would help to explain some of the key points over a series of short videos like this one. The first thing we need to do is to understand where we are, where we have come from, and where we want to go. Grenada has emerged from one of the most successful structural adjustment programs ever, certainly in the Caribbean. The government did this while enacting programs to protect its citizens, with reductions in income tax, removal of income tax on pensions, and increases in wages. But most importantly, they did all of this without the loss of a single job. We only need to look around at our neighbours to see what a remarkable achievement this really is. Barbados, for example, had a 10-year wage freeze and workers only received a 5% increase after elections. But this was very quickly followed by significant job cuts. In Grenada, we have had numerous increases over the last 10 years, even as we went through the structural adjustment, and again, not a single job was lost. The government has also honoured its commitments to pensioners in all cases. The case of Mrs. Armstrong proves this point. The government has honoured the interpretation of the courts and paid out all monies due to ensure that the letter of the law has been followed. Two of the main areas of concern are the issue of gratuities and the issue of retirement age, and we're going to do separate videos to explain each of these in more detail, but the main things to remember are these. A gratuity is not a bonus. It's much more like a loan. A person retiring gets to take some of their money sooner rather than later and pays this back over time. This can be both good and bad. More money now means less money later, and we will discuss the issues surrounding this in our next video. But the key thing to remember is that the percentage of the gratuity doesn't change the amount that someone will receive. It only changes the timing of when they will receive it, and that too much too soon will leave too little later on. In relation to the second item, retirement age, it is no secret that everyone is living longer, and much of this is due to better healthcare, better nutrition, a safer working environment, and other government policies that protect people and help them to live longer and more active lives. That's the important part. People aren't just living longer, they're aging more slowly, and many still want to contribute beyond the current retirement age. Grenada has actually been rather late in changing its retirement age. Dominica is at 62. Trinidad and Jamaica are at 65. And in Barbados, the current age of retirement is now 67. There is also another matter of fiscal prudence. Because people are living longer in retirement, the total amounts paid out by government are increasing, and this needs to be balanced against the money that is coming in to ensure that each and every Grenadian can receive the retirement benefits that they are entitled to. And in many ways, that is what this discussion is all about. We need to ensure that whatever policies we agree to now are sustainable, and that they will work now and into the future. Let's think about all these things seriously and look at all angles. If you do, you will see the constraints that we must work within to achieve our overall objectives of ensuring that everyone has enough money to live comfortably in retirement. When you put it all together, it becomes fairly clear that the government's proposed solutions are very close to the ideal and are the best way forward for Grenada. Let's keep working together for the best of Grenada.
It is said that education is the key to success. The Grenada Development Bank believes this to be the truth. Hence the reason we have made it our prerogative to ensure that your key is in safe hands with us. Here is how you can unlock your success with an education loan from the GDB. We offer you 3 loan options. We've got our regular student loan, our work-study student loan, and our special student loan. Our regular student loan is for persons who wish to pursue full-time tertiary level education. If you are a permanent employee who wish to study while continuing your employment, then our work-study loan is for you. Our special student loan is in collaboration with the government of Grenada, geared towards vulnerable persons who would like to pursue higher level education. Remember, you must have proof of admission from a recognized institution here at home or abroad. All our loans are 100% financing with interest rates as low as 5%. Get your funding from GDB today for your tertiary level education, your technical training or vocational training, even professional development, with up to 12 years to repay. Your future success is today. Grab it now.
February 28th to March 5th. So link up all your friends, cause this and every Wednesday, it's Carnival City. Be there.
Everyone can contribute to the reduction of mosquitoes around their home or community. Get rid of all mosquito breeding sites. For example, remove unwanted containers such as bottles, tires, plastic bags, and coconut shells. Avoid the indiscriminate dumping of refuse and garbage. Clean and open drains as well as drain pipes. Cover tree holes. Clear roof guttering. Debush your surroundings and ensure that septic tanks are properly sealed. Be a good neighbor. Keep your surroundings clean and free of all mosquito breeding sites. That was a message from the Ministry of Health.
Yes, good morning to Grenada, Carriacou, and Martinique. Once again, it's time for Hard Talk, 16 minutes after the hour of 11 o'clock. And we are in studio. My name is Sheldon Scott.
I'm Devon Romain.
And this is Hard Talk. We're live on 97.5 CitysoundFM.
89.5 CRFM.
And 92.9 Sister Ryle FM.
And 94.9 WeiVybz Radio in Brooklyn, New York.
Yes, and the on-air number is 440-7377.
And 347-329-3101, our overseas line.
Yes, indeed. And as we said, it is Hard Talk. Now, 17 minutes after the hour of 11 o'clock on the Spanish Isle of Grenada. You have had the post-cabinet press briefing this morning. Last night, you would have had, not you would have had, but you had. Yeah, because if you say would have had, that means you didn't have it. Yes, so you had the Prime Minister of Grenada, Dr. The Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, would have done an interview with Mr. Lou Smith. Yeah, Uncle Lou. Yeah, classic Lou and you.
You see Lou in his bright colors last night?
Yeah, man. Hey, wow. GBN, I'll get through. I find all set look nice. Yeah, GBN, I'll get you. I'll get you. All right, yes, indeed. And several things. In fact, one of the things that came out, I think Prime Minister mentioned it yesterday. I heard Honorable Gregory Boyne mentioned it this morning as well in the post-cabinet press briefing. Yeah, not KFC, leg and tie and breast. Yeah, you see, you can tell when I'm hungry too. Yeah, press briefing that took place this morning. Honorable Gregory Boyne, he would have mentioned, I think it's around 50 million to be paid out to people who've been owed by the state of Grenada various judgments. That's not only judgments and so, but other things like land acquisition and so on that the state of Grenada is owing for. So that would be people who, for instance, government was putting a road somewhere and that acquire a portion of the person's property, and the government had to pay the persons and they may not have been paid, and government will now be able to pay them. Other people who may have had judgments against government for various things, and government would have to pay them, and various other things. So that government is looking to clear up that backlog that I think goes back over 20 years in some instances. Yeah, over 20 years in some instances. I'm not sure. I think that one of the former NNP administrations had cleared up a lot of the backlog from some of the persons who had to be compensated due to the activities of the People's Revolutionary Government. I believe that one of the former NNP governments would have cleared up that backlog. But you have other people after that there are things that have to be cleared up. So that is going to inject a significant amount of money into the economy.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And it's important, Devon, because these little injections from time to time of money into the economy, they're very helpful. Last year, for instance, when you had those people that were paid that $7 million, that would have gone into the Grenadian economy. It's not money that you didn't take $7 million and give it to Canada.
Nope, ship it out, no.
Yeah, it's not $7 million that you gave to St. Lucia. It's $7 million that was put into the Grenadian economy, put into circulation here. Those 54 individuals, they may have gone down to the hardware and so on, purchased different things and done building and so. They may have decided that they're going to buy a new vehicle or a second-hand, that's called a brand new second-hand.
Set up a business.
Yeah, they may have done that.
Continuously,
Yeah, we're speaking about the 54 persons here that were paid as a consequence of the Hermelin Armstrong's case and government not filing a defense in that case. Not just paid because of that. Government did not file a defense in that case. Not a defense, an appeal in that case.
Purposely.
Yeah. Decided, well, look, no, it's best to just pay these individuals. And government would have paid over $7 million to 54 individuals last year. and now aiming to pay some $50 million or so. I think it should be around the region of $50 million. I don't have the exact figure, but from my recollection, it should be in the region of $50 million. That's going to be going to various people, Grenadians, in the Grenadian economy, people who are owed, for various things.
By the state.
Yeah, and that outside of government's achievement on coming into office of zeroing those short-term payments to suppliers to government.
Over $100 million.
Yeah, over $100 million that was paid to suppliers. And so on coming into office in 2013, remember government met the situation, and every time you came up with a figure, you had more bills that came in.
More bills.
So when you're thinking now, and the Ministry of Finance, due to the invoices they have inside, they come to you and they say, well, you have $87 million in overdue payments to pay that are over 90 days and so to pay. And then you come out and they say, well, okay, we have 87 million. Then you see, and let's check invoices. People say, oh, so are they getting ready to pay? Okay, well, here what? And a hardware sending something for $1 million. And another hardware sending something for $2 million. And you see some of the major suppliers in Grenada say, well, since you all are paying, they're sending one for 500,000, another one sending one for 250,000. And by the time you check yourself, you're already over 90 million and you're heading to 100 million. And that is the situation that the new National Party found themselves in on coming into office in 2013, and would have erased that debt. Erased it, because they thought that outside of having to pay $40 million to public servants, that's inclusive of teachers, nurses, police, prison officers, public workers in the various departments and so on, that outside of having to find $40 million to make that payment to those individuals, that government would never be able to find the money to make those payments to the suppliers and so too.
A remarkable achievement, by government in terms of how they and remember, after 2013, we went straight into a structural adjustment program, homegrown.
Yeah.
You see, so I mean, with all these difficulties, you're still able to go through that structural adjustment program and sustain. You understand? I mean, that's remarkable.
And I believe this is one of the reasons, and this is the view I take of it. I think this is one of the reasons that the unions believe that Dr. Mitchell, as Minister of Finance, could do the superhuman thing. So they're asking him to do something that's nearly impossible, because they say, well, okay, that man achieved the impossible before, That man paid $40 million when nobody expected him to do it.
Nobody expected
That man erased $100 million in debt to little farmers. I remember a farmer calling me while we were in opposition. I remember a farmer calling the program. And this guy, a small farmer, was owed $6,000 by the government of Grenada at that point in time. $6,000 for a farmer. That's seed, that's fertilizer, that's irrigation equipment, and outside of that, transportation, very important for a farmer. And outside of that, remember, that farmer has electricity bills to pay and water bills to pay for home and children to send to school and that sort of thing. And $6,000 owed by the government of Grenada. That was erased. Government was able to pay that. And to many other suppliers. And this was a farmer that was supplying goods to the hospital and that sort of thing. And the government came in and said, no, you can't be owing people this amount of money over an extended period of time. So the government put in place a strategy to erase those debts, to get those that were at 90 days, deal with those, get those out of the way, then bring those at 60 days, and get it down to a level where you generally don't want bills going up to 90 days. 3 months you're owing people, come on.
That's a long time.
Yeah, trying to erase it before that. For that to be the case, there has to be some sort of mix-up in the system now. For somebody to be owed for 90 days, believe me, if you're owed more than 90 days, your supply invoice, there's a mix-up in the system somewhere.
Well, sometimes there's a mix-up, but sometimes it's deliberate. I could talk on my behalf. I was not paid for almost 4 months by the NDC government.
Yeah, let me just clarify here. We're talking about the NNP government, not the NDC government.
I know, but
so that's why I'm saying no. Under the system that exists now, if you are not paid after 60 days, 90 days, it's because there's some mix-up. What you need to do is trace that invoice. You need to get in contact with the particular department of government that invoice was sent to, and so on. Unless it's a situation like with Devon Ita, somebody tried to spite you, which was under the NDC administration, not under the
NDC. Not under
we're making sure you understand that. That wasn't under NNP.
But even in all of that too, government was still able to honor a commitment made by the former NDC government to public workers, right? As soon as they came in, paying millions of dollars, right, in back pay and that sort of thing, and was still able to negotiate within that 2013-2018 period, right? A 10% hike for teachers and public workers.
Yeah. And, the interesting thing is that when salaries are paid this month, and we know January generally has about 300 days in it. Yeah, so, but anyway,
I say 365.
Yeah. But when salaries are paid this month, teachers will be receiving an increase.
4%.
Public workers will be receiving an increase. So it's going to be a nice little paycheck.
Of course, an additional.
When they get their paycheck this month, teachers will be receiving an increase, and the public servants in general, they will be receiving a 4% increase. And that goes on top of the 3% increase received last year. Last year was kind of last week, but last year in 2018, and the 3% increase received in 2017. And on top of that, the very same teachers and public servants, they have already sent their letter to government to start negotiations for the increases for 2021 and 2022. So they've already signaled their intent for their further salary increases, and this is an entire discussion outside of what is taking place with the gratuity issue. And I said a gratuity issue because we don't have a pension issue.
No.
And I think that's a mistake, and a technical mistake that lots of people are making when they're speaking. We do not have a pension issue.
That has been settled.
Yeah, that's already been settled. Government and the unions have settled on the pension issue, so there is no pension issue in Grenada right now. None. Anybody says otherwise is either, it could be a slip of the tongue.
Yeah, it's possible.
But there is no pension issue right now. What there is an issue with gratuity.
And how it's been paid.
Yeah. So the issue of pension is settled on. So teachers have settled, and all of the unions have settled on the issue of pensions. That is settled. That is they call it a moot point.
Yeah.
That's a settled issue. Yeah. The issue now is the issue of gratuity and the level of gratuity. We have a caller.
Good morning and welcome. Good morning.
Hello, good morning. Okay. Let's try this way. Good morning. Okay, that caller seems to have a problem. We know we don't have a problem with the phone line. We're sure on that.
Totally fresh.
Yeah, so that person, callers, just remember when you're calling to pay attention to the phone line, because we're sure we don't have a problem with the phone line. We know that. Yeah. We fixed that, sorted that out yesterday, worked perfectly after. So if you're calling, remember to pay attention to the phone line and not to listen on the radio, particularly if you're calling from mobile phones, and so it can have a serious delay and can throw you off. So you need to listen to us on the phone line itself. And again, the phone number 440-7377
and 347-329-3101.
Yeah, so significant payments, because that's going to be, and you know, in Grenada, we have that family sort of thing. So one family get money, you know, in some families, not all, some family ain't like that, but some families, that money does spread, Yeah. Because grandpa ain't getting that money and ain't getting look a granddaughter, look at something, and the grandson, and look at something. Yeah. You understand?
Or even the daughter, you say, girl, I know you had that kind of thing, they look, hold at $300 and, you know, bring down that bill a little bit. You know, and so that's where it is. It spreads within, the family. But Sheldon, what is so interesting to it? It's the first time I've seen a country, right, going through a structural adjustment program, especially homegrown, and was still able, right, to pay, give salary raises, increases, pay bills that was owed for years, by previous governments. That's amazing.
But that's not the only thing that the government was able to do. During this period as well, government was able to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to people within the public service to go and study. Yeah? So that people were able to go and study and still receive their salaries and that sort of thing, and even receive financial assistance from government to go and upgrade themselves. And we're speaking of people not only within the ministry, as they say, well, the ministerial complex, but you're speaking of people who are teachers who got the opportunity and assistance of government to go to the University of the West Indies. Yeah, University of the West Indies, the St. George University, and other institutions.
Online programs and so.
They received assistance from the government of Grenada to be able to do that. And we're talking of over the period 2013 to 2018, millions of dollars that was spent in this particular area. I don't have the exact figure in front of me right now. I had it. I'll find it in a while. Yeah, but millions of dollars that was spent during that period of time. And in addition to that, you had doctors, junior doctors, that were sent to upgrade. So, for instance, you need vascular surgeons.
Specialized.
Right. So I know that there's one individual now who should be a vascular surgeon that was sent to train. I think they were sent to China or where, and they've now trained in that area because that individual previously wasn't trained as a surgeon. They were a general practitioner. So they specialize now. And that there are some that are out now. There are some that are due to go right now, because you have to fulfill certain needs if you're upgrading the standard of healthcare. So you cannot just have a set of people that are going out and coming back as general practitioners, but you must have people that are going out and coming back with specialities.
That is what we need.
So an ear, nose, and throat specialist. So you're going to ensure that somebody just doesn't come back as a GP, general practitioner, dealing with everything. But that while they must do that, but that they come back and they specialize now in ENT, or they specialize in cardiology, the heart. They specialize in vascular surgery, which is dealing with the veins and so on. People who are suffering from kidney collapse, and they have to go onto dialysis. For many years, we had the situation where you had to wait for a doctor who would come every 2 or 3 months, who would, or if there's an emergency, you had to pay to get that person in on a special flight and so into Grenada. That would come and do the surgery so that people can take their dialysis, because to do dialysis, you need a vascular surgeon to make the incision and insert the necessary implements within the human body to be able to do the dialysis. I don't want to go into details. It might turn some people off this close to lunch. But to do what has to be done. Yeah? So that is it. I think I was seeing the... Oh, no, it's not ringing again. So folks, you can call in. We have roughly about half hour left on today's program. And to those of you on the live, we say a very special good morning to each and every one of you. And we continue to tell you, like and share. Like and share the live. Yeah? Like and share. So, Devon, that's a significant amount of money that's going to be coming into the Grenadian economy. Also, Minister Bowen mentioned the issue of parking, and I'll get back to that particular one. We have a caller.
Good morning and welcome.
Yes, gentlemen, good morning to you, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, my friend.
Same to you, sir.
And let me say, before I continue, I've seen something pretty on the wall there, jealous. I didn't have that on my wall. That's not right.
You need to get that. You're really wrong there. You're making me feel you give up your birthright, man.
No, I won't give up my birthright. I won't do that. Anyhow, let me say that I felt proud that Doc gave a good account of himself last night on Beyond the Headline. And you have to put this gentleman in his place, who always call and spread lies, you know, without facts. I don't know where he gets his facts from, as you have a new term now, alternative facts. And it is a very wrong thing to lead people down a wrong path. And Doc had to put him in his place last night. And I think that was good. And then he was using some terms. I mean, I think he was kind of going in and out. Something about put it in your pipe and smoke it. I didn't hear everything in what he said, but I know I heard that part. And when I go over the recording again, and I think that is very disrespectful of him. You know, he has, to me, in my honest opinion, he has no respect for the office of the Prime Minister. You know, and I think he is looking at Keith Mitchell and not the office of the Prime Minister. And I think when someone comes to talk, they should have facts. Because then again, if you can make such a claim, and what happened if, for example, the government decide to take him to court, then what would it look like? Oh, the government is taking advantage of this or that. You know, when you go to court, you cannot prove that what you're saying. That is why it is good that everybody know what they're talking about, get your facts straight, get all your ducks in a row, and then you could be able to talk. Or say it is alleged if you're not sure. You know, I think that is...
My brother,
I think that was very...
you want me tell you something from a legal perspective? You know, saying the words "it is alleged" does not save you in a court of law, because you have already made made the statement.
Because I know a lot of media use it too.
That doesn't save you. You know, some people, when they're doing a program, before the program they play a little something that says the views expressed in this program are not the views are not the views
like
of
what
this station.
do every morning.
Right. You know, you can still be sued with. I don't play it because it doesn't make a difference. You ever heard me play anything like that and say the views expressed in this on this program are not the views of this station and so on? One, none of the stations have ever been sued. We've been doing this program. Pretty soon it will be going on somewhere around 10 years that we've been doing this program. We've been doing it for a long time. And we have never, ever been sued. And the thing is, outside of making sure that the information that we're giving is truthful, factual, and verifiable, we also know that going and say this kind of thing about the views expressed, blah, 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 that doesn't save you, because the false information, whether with the words alleged before, in between, or after, you've still given the false information. You've still given it. And you don't even have to call. Another mistake some people make legally, they think that not calling a person's name would save them in a court of law. No, it does not. You don't have to call a person's name. Once you've given enough information, and I'm telling you this from a legal perspective, I know exactly what I'm speaking about. I have a track record of never having to go in court on any matter like this. Once you make a statement, even without calling the person's name, that can lead anyone to understand that it is person A, that I make a statement and I say, that Rasta that has been on radio day on City Song during 10 to 12.
Yes.
I ain't call the person name, but everybody know that is between me or Devon they're talking about. And if you say the one from up in Grenville side, they know it's Devon.
Take note.
So once even if you don't say his name, but you give any indication of who the person is, you are legally responsible for the statements that have been broadcast or made. So alleged doesn't help you. But go ahead. I just wanted to point that out.
Okay, but in that case, seeing that the individual regularly, well, almost on a daily basis, would call different programs and make such an unfounded statement, can he be taken to court for that? I mean, do you think that, for example, most of the statements might be related to the government? Do you think that the government can take him to court for that?
I don't think the government would waste their time and resources to do that. But an individual, for instance, if statements are made about me, and the statements that are made are damaging to my image in public, if persons are accusing me falsely of things, making unfounded statements, and those statements are damaging to my character or my public image, I have the right to take that individual and the organizations that have allowed that individual to put forward that information to court. Yeah, so the government as the government may not do that. But an individual member, for instance, a particular parliamentarian, if you're coming out and you're saying, well, all the parliamentarians within the New National Party are corrupt or so, if you're coming out and making that statement, an individual parliamentarian can say, well, you have damaged my character, and I can take you to court. Yes, the government could do it too, but an individual
would have included everybody.
Yeah, but the thing is, the parliamentarians generally don't bother with that. They generally don't bother with that, but any one of them can, in fact, the person could find themselves with 15 cases. Yeah. They could even find themselves with more than that if you include the senators. They could find themselves with about 18 different cases.
Yes.
Because you have imputed that individual A or B by association and being a member of the government or a cabinet minister is corrupt. And once you have imputed that, you can be taken to court. Some of them feel this alleged thing and not calling people name thing does save them. They realize it's just sorry people does feel sorry for them sometimes. There's a reason we have never been sued. We know what we're doing and we know what we're saying. And we know we could back anything we come and say we could back it up.
Very careful about that.
All of them would have said we lying. Why didn't tell the organization take us to court? Why didn't tell one of them to come and sue me?
Thing.
Why don't they tell one of their organizations to sue me? Take me to court.
Well, then they have to find the facts.
Well.
And facts is what stand up in court. Before you go, I know other people have to call, but just quickly, I know this is a diverse program. This program does not only speak about politics. Mm-hmm. I think in my mind there is a kind of injustice that goes on with drivers in Grenada. And I would like it to get like two major people, like somebody from the Port Authority and maybe the police to speak in relation to the headlamps. Mm-hmm. Now, I know there are some headlamps that you guys would complain is blinding and stuff in the night. Mm-hmm. Now, these lamps come through the port. It is clear the government would have gotten their monies, which means it came in legal, the person have it legally, and then somehow it is illegal to have it. Mm-hmm. I think, and by saying, I think in contrast, somehow it is saying, and I could be wrong, that the officers of the Port Authority, which means customs officers, they are not doing a proper job or a thorough job because these things somehow come through the port even though it is paid for. And I think that is a discussion we need to have between the relevant persons, like somebody from the traffic department and somebody from customs. Let's trash it out because I don't see how I can bring in my stuff, have it cleared legally, and then it is declared to be illegal, and then I will be penalized for it sometime down the road. So that is a discussion I think we need to have as a people.
Okay, my brother.
All right. Okay, man.
What I can say in relation to that is simply this. There is a problem when it comes to the lights. Sometimes I find myself driving on high beam, and the reason I sometimes find myself driving on high beam is because somebody is coming in the opposite direction and decides that they are going to blind me
with a higher
beam, especially, and I make no apologies for this, especially buses on every route.
Yes, on every route.
Every route. There are some of them with some very bright lights that you basically have to stop. You cannot drive. You cannot go an inch again. You have to stop because the lights are blinding you. And my car, unlike many other people's vehicle, I drive a little piece of car and it's a low car. It's low to the ground, which means that I get in it live and direct because it's right in my eyes. So sometimes I find myself, to try and signal them now, hey, dim your light. You give them back a bright light to dim your light. Yeah, because I have lights. You could put it on high too, high beam. Tell them, dim your light. Now, in the context of it coming into the country legally and then being declared illegal, we have plastic containers and styrofoam containers that have been coming into the country for ever since they've been created and started to be shipped. And they've been declared illegal and it's being phased out. So it's no biggie for HED and those high definition lights generally that have come in with vehicles to be outlawed. I see no problem with it.
No problem.
In fact, I think many drivers on our nation's roads will be very glad for it to happen. Very, very, very glad. Because some of the lights, believe me, there are some that are reasonable. You could understand some of them. But some of them, again, no. I could understand a certain type of lighting for a vehicle that's going over the Granatang Hills, especially around this time of year when it's a bit misty in some areas. So you don't expect the rules to apply to vehicles that have to traverse the Grenada and so on that would apply to a vehicle that's doing the Grand Dance to bus terminal run. You don't expect the same rules to apply. So I could understand in the context of some of the vehicles that are going over the Grenada Hills for the high intensity lights. I could understand that.
But it must only be used
in those situations. It can't be that you just have it on right through and you're going over the Grenada and you're down in tongue and you're coming through Bolio and you just decide to blind everybody. Take side of the road if you want to take it. No, it has to be used in a proper manner. So there's nothing wrong with something having been let into the country and then declared afterwards illegal. Yeah? As I said, we've had it happen with plastics. Last year, it was declared illegal plastics and non-biodegradable plastics and non-biodegradable styrofoam, because I saw some people trying to make an issue of the fact that they're seeing styrofoam containers now. But if they look on the cover, they'd see biodegradable. These are environmentally friendly. These are not going to stay in the environment there and then by the time 126 generations away from now, it's still there. And it's still there holding something in it. Yeah. That by the time next year, that gone. As you have the biodegradable garbage bags. Most of the garbage bags that you get in Grenada now are biodegradable. If you're one of the people that you have your garage and so on, you store stuff sometimes, so you put away your Christmas stuff and you put it in a garbage bag and you put it there. You'd realize sometimes by the time August when you go, the bag disintegrates. You show your finger, everything just... Yeah, by the time you try to lift the bag, you just realize because they're biodegradable, they're made to disintegrate within a period of time. Yeah? So there are some, when the ban was imposed, it was imposed on non-biodegradable. But you have the biodegradable ones that are allowed into the country. So I think that point has to be made. Yeah? Nice. I think we have another caller online.
Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning, my friend.
Sheldon.
Hey, sir.
Tell me something now I want to know. When Grenada Carnival come around, we Calypso and from Carriacou just come out from up here and come down and sing. When is we Carnival in Carriacou on the 4th and the 5th? Grenada Calypso then could come over and sing? Tell me, I'll listen off it.
I have absolutely no idea. I believe such a decision would be within the remit and purview of the Carriacou Association and the Carriacou organizations that stage Carriacou Carnival.
As a matter of fact, I was listening to news yesterday and I heard the chairperson of the Carriacou Carnival Committee, right, stating, as a young lady, stating that they're having a, what do you call it, a Wednesday, like how we have the, right, and they will be inviting the Calypsonians, even Calypsonians from Grenada, the mainland, to come up and partake leading up to the Carnival Festival.
Traditionally, over the past 10 years or so, Grenadian, especially within the last 5, I could tell you that, Grenadian artists have been going up and support Carriacou's Carnival. Carriacou's Carnival is now seen by many people here in Grenada who otherwise would have gone to Trinidad for Trinidad's Carnival at this time of year, is being seen as an alternative.
Exactly.
And a safe alternative where you don't have to worry about you go to the hotel and if somebody follow you to rob you. Or if you're going on the highway that some madman drunk coming home from a fete going to crash into your vehicle and kill you. Or that you go to a fete and you have to worry about gunshots firing or some sort of thing. Carriacou Carnival is seen as the safe alternative. In fact, for a number of years now, it has gotten to the point that you're actually seeing people leaving Trinidad and coming up. So they want Carnival, they want to partake in it, they want to be a part of the mass and all this sort of thing. But you're seeing, and we're not speaking about thousands or hundreds of people here, but small groups that are actually coming up to Carriacou and partaking in Carriacou Carnival. We don't know if they come to try and copy, we think to go down with it. But they're coming up for Carriacou.
You never know.
Yeah, sometimes it's that they come in. They come to copy, we think to go back down Trinidad with it. Yeah, no. Yeah, Trinidadians are... anyway, let me leave that one alone. But let me just say...
You would know. I would know.
They're like Trinidadians like a photocopier and they're ready with certain things.
Yeah, they're bad.
So it could be that they're taking the opportunity to come to the safer carnival. You don't hear in a Carriacou Carnival, you don't hear about how much shooting and all this kind of nonsense.
You don't hear that.
Right? So it's a safe alternative. And many Grenadians who otherwise used to go down to Trinidad see it as a cheaper alternative. In fact, I challenge any of you right now to find a flight to Carriacou anytime between now and the end of February with SVG Air. There are no flights. Between now and the end of February, nearly every flight is booked solid.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
You could try, maybe you might be lucky, somebody might give up the booking, but it's near impossible right now as well to find a place to stay in Carriacou during Kayak Mass. So Carriacou Carnival has been building more and more and more. I know there's a constant and consistent call by our brothers and sisters on the Sister Isles for a holiday for Carriacou Carnival. But you have to understand something, eh? While it's nice, while it's good, while it's all that kind of thing, one, it is taking place on the Sister Isle. Two, you run the risk of losing tens of $millions in the Grenadian economy to an activity that at this stage is not also bringing in tens of millions of dollars. Yeah. So there's the economic aspect of it. There is economic value. No one is saying that there is not economic value to Carriacou Carnival. But what do the rest of Grenadians do? It's 100,000 of us. And you may have, 15,000, 20,000 or so participating in Carriacou Carnival. What about the rest of us? So for it to be at this stage, I know, it's a discussion. It's a discussion. Yeah? It's a discussion at this stage. 440-7377. We have roughly 8 minutes remaining.
And 347-329-3101.
Yeah.
Sheldon, I just want to say a happy belated birthday to one of the Romain family out there in Mong.
One of the Romain family or one of the Romain family?
Well,
one of the Romain.
The Romain family. Yeah, it's the mother of Golan Romain. Happy belated birthday to you, and I hope you enjoyed yourself, And so I forgot yesterday, but I had to do it today. All right, so coming from your fam, the entire family circle, which is huge. All right, so hey, we hope you enjoy yourself. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. And Devon, I think the teachers are having a meeting tomorrow.
Yes.
To discuss. I hope it comes out better than the public service. Yeah, because
you
can't tell me the public service have thousands and thousands of people and less than 300 coming to make a decision as to the way forward for how the union going. I mean, well, if that is what they want, well, go right ahead.
But
if we have thousands, I would expect that you have a quorum of at least 35 to 45% of the amount of people to make a decision of that magnitude. I would think that you look to just get a couple. I don't even know if they get 300, but anyhow.
But what is interesting, and it sort of bothers me, and the minister in his press conference this morning mentioned it, slightly, is the way in which the teachers are doing their thing right now. For example, you having a meeting, right, with all your teachers and principals and whatever, and you are calling that meeting on a work day, 1 o'clock, right, for all teachers to report to GBSS for that very important meeting. Based on my information coming from the minister, right, I mean, I can't, I was based on, there's no permission given or even the ministry being informed, right?
I think it would have been more reasonable to place the meeting for a time.
Exactly, out of school hours. Because remember, the teachers are still on work to rule, right? So if you're still on work to rule, and you still call in a meeting at 1 o'clock in the GBSS for all teachers, you're looking at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock finish for all the schools on the island.
Let's hope they get a proper quorum of teachers. If you have 6,000 teachers or 4,000 teachers, let's see at least a 45% of them to make a decision on the way forward. It should not be that you have 150 people come out and make the decision for everybody else.
No.
On that particular issue. If you call the forum, let them come out and so on. But the timing, again, I agree with you. 6 million%. I agree with you. The timing is off on that one.
And again, I must say, the leaders of these organizations continue to not, in my view, do the correct things. You see, and it's bothering.
And I have been listening to various people speaking out and saying that how there's a level of victimization taking place. Scholar is being moved from the Ministry of Education. One, I get all the mail out of government. I haven't seen anything come out so far that has confirmed to me. Let me make that statement clear. I'm not saying that it isn't happening. I'm saying I've seen no official statement coming out from the government of Grenada that Finley Jeffrey is being removed from the Ministry of Education. I'm not saying that that may not happen. I'm not saying that will not happen. What I've heard from the Prime Minister last night is that the Public Service Commission, not the Prime Minister, not the Cabinet, not the Minister of Education, the Public Service Commission, which is an independent body, has made a recommendation for the rotation, not removal, not demotion, not firing, but the rotation of 11 permanent secretaries between now and the end of February.
And that is customary.
But Devon, in my time within the Public Service of Grenada, the amount of different public permanent secretaries I've known, for instance, in the Ministry of Youth and Sport, well, I've known in my initial time there as the public relation officer, there was Elizabeth Henry Greenidge, Mrs. Elizabeth Henry Greenidge. Then for a period of time we had Mrs. Vida Victor Bruno. Then we had Mrs. Nadeka McIntyre. Then you had Ms. I think Miss Anne-Marie Marichaud acted for a period of time. Then you've had Miss oh boy, there was Miss Bowen. There was also Miss Cador, Austin Cador.
Yeah, Austin Cador.
There was Miss Austin Cador. You've had I mentioned the late Nadeka McIntyre. So you've had Mrs. Eunice Sandy David. Yeah. You've had her. So over time, you have permanent secretaries rotate from one ministry to another ministry. What it does is it gives each permanent secretary a better understanding of how each ministry operates, and especially at a point in time that you have a slew of new, young, permanent secretaries. So it will not, it should not, and it cannot be a situation that a permanent secretary believes that they're into a permanent space in a ministry. If you're serious about public service and serving as the chief administrative person in a ministry, you can't tell. By the end of this year, you might end up right back in the same ministry that you were in before. By next year, you may be back there. I've known Vida Victor Bruno to pass through the Ministry of Sports maybe about 4 or 5 times or more. And I'll show you a message right now and try to reach her. It might be even more than that. Now, she come there, she go, she come, she go, she come, she go. She go in Ministry of Work, she come there, she end up in education. She end up all over the place.
And then Aline Utra Buckmeyer.
Miss Utra,
I mean, she been... I believe she's been in all the ministries.
Yeah.
Couple of them, but that is what it is.
Miss Isaac.
Girl Isaac.
I mean,
that is
these
what
people
in the administration
have rotated through various ministries. And what it does is this. Let's say you're in the Ministry of Works today. Ministry of Works is responsible for infrastructural projects. So if it is the reconstruction or refurbishment of a school, you would have the experience of what is involved and what needs to be done for the rehabilitation or refurbishment of a school.
So you'll advance
as a permanent secretary. Yeah. So you now will get the institutional knowledge of what is needed for that to be completed. You may be over to the Ministry of Youth and Sport, so you may understand the various programs that are done through the Ministry of Education, what, for instance, the sporting programs and so, what is included in those, and so you get the institutional knowledge. You go to the Prime Minister's ministry, you attach to the Ministry of Finance, so you get an idea of how each ministry operates, and therefore how each ministry can be interlinked with another ministry.
Because that's government, has to work together.
Anyone that understands leadership and governance would understand that. Anyone like Dum Dum and others who aspire for leadership but understand nothing about governance, leadership or so, and their track record shows that, would think that a person rotating from one ministry and not being demoted, rotating from one ministry to another ministry, is some sort of something wrong.
It happens in cabinet.
I
mean, cabinet ministers and so don't stay at one portfolio.
Who is me?
They move them around for the experience and everything like that.
I was in the Ministry of Youth and Sport. I was rotated from the Ministry of Youth and Sport to the Prime Minister's Ministry with responsibility for information. My background for over 20 years has been in information. So I went into a department where my expertise could have been utilized at that point in time. Yep. The Prime Minister, who is the Prime Minister, at one point in time, he gave up the Ministry of Finance. Sometimes he takes up a ministry and sometimes he gives it up. I know at a point in time the Prime Minister didn't hold the portfolio of national security. He had a senator that held that portfolio, and different ministries from time to time, the Prime Minister may decide, okay, I'm going to hold on to this one at this time, or he may decide, no, I'm seeing this person, I want to give them some experience in this particular area, and I believe that they are competent and capable of carrying out our plans and programs in that particular area, and he would rotate that ministry onto that particular person. So if the ministers could rotate, why the permanent secretaries can't rotate? Why does it have to be a national issue and people throwing talk and people cussing and people getting on and all kind of thing about if something wrong, something that has happened consistently? And it's not to say that it's affecting one person. It's not to say that you're taking one person and you say this one person is the one person that we're going to take out from here and move there and put here and put there. 11 permanent secretaries, but they decide to only talk about one. They ain't talking about the others.
Only one
permanent secretary. Because they want to make a political issue out of it. Yeah? And I'm sure that the permanent secretary more than happy, you know. But come on, man. You're not being demoted, no. Your salary not going down, you know.
No. I mean, come on.
You're getting a new challenge. It shows that you are seen as competent enough to take up a new challenge. But somebody have a problem with that? How that could be a problem?
Politics.
Maybe somebody in the live could tell me. Let me check quick.
Yeah.
Wait
we
now.
We
passed time. Let me take one call and then we'll go. Yeah.
Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good morning to Mr.
Hey. Hi, my dear.
Good morning to Grenadians and home and abroad. I will say special good morning also to Dr. Thomas and Nurse Jacob that took care of me last night. And the spirit, all the nurses, even the nurses in the street here. I want to say good morning to them. You know? Yeah. I listen to you all about the permanent secretaries and the public servants. You know what I little I know? A little I know about public servants. When you are public servants, and they could move you to different departments in the different ministries, as long as you're a public servant appointed by the public commission. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Devon?
Yes.
Are you there?
Yeah, we there.
When you're appointed by the public service, they could move you in any department and put it over. And you know why? They do that sometimes so you gain experience. Yeah. You gain a lot of experience in the different ministries, like some of the permanent secretary. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
When Mr. Wilson was the Minister of Finance, I know of Miss that lady that I know, Miss Hardin. I remember Miss Hardin. I remember Miss Steele.
Miss Steele, yes.
All these are permanent secretaries.
Mm-hmm.
And they move them in different ministries, in Ministry of Education. But now, some of the public servants now, they don't want to move because they settle. They tell themselves that is their own job. They must stay there till they're dead. And if you move them, they say you want to victimize them. But if they read the laws in the public commission office, tell you, they could move you anytime and put you in any different ministry. I don't so bright like some of them, but I don't stupid. I know that. I'm not the public servant. When you're appointed, you know what I say? When you're appointed by the public service, they could move you and send you in Carriacou. In the morning, they could tell you, well, you got to go to Carriacou. or you gotta go in the crazy house, or you gotta go somewhere. You can't vex that in the public service commission could appoint you to send you anyway. But on the NNP government, now people want to do what they want, and they put in all the blame on the Prime Minister. They don't have no respect for the Prime Minister. They don't have respect for the highest office. They don't have respect. I listened to the Prime Minister last night and looked with some questions, the answer with all his ability. And then he has this forward man, 2 forward Grenadians that call and have no respect. But they want one of these days, they want to have respect, but it will be too late.
Yep.
Because of the hatred. Because of the hatred for the man. But I want to tell them this morning, I might die anytime because I don't wear it. God put Keith Claudius Mitchell for the people in this country to rule this country. And when God ready for him to move him, he's going to ask the people to make him resign. Nobody, none of them that do know what they have to do to juke him out, to juke him, they're juking. They cannot move him till God says, Keith, it's time for you to step down. And God going to ask the people, He's going to ask we the people if it's time for him to move. Have a good day, Grenadians.
All right,
All right, Gavi, take care.
Bye.
What a way to end our program
yes,
today.
indeed. And I'll tell you something. I remember once, not while the junior in the ministry, but at a point in time when I was the public relation officer in the Ministry of Youth. Remember getting to the office one morning. When I got there, I saw the secretary. As usual, she's in, but she was packing up her stuff and so. And she was saying, well, goodbye. I said, well, this early morning, where you going? She said, I got in here, and when I reached here, I was informed by the PS that I'm to report to the Ministry of Finance today, and that's where I'll be working from today. You could walk in, you think everything okay, and so on, you'll be told, this morning for this morning, pack your stuff, you're being relocated to the Ministry of Finance. Not even in the same building, not to say that she was coming out from that desk and go upstairs, on another floor, upstairs or downstairs.
Quite across the carnage.
Yeah, and next location, you have to make your arrangement differently, everything, because you're not even in the same building.
Duty calls.
The thing is that you can be moved, but you can be moved laterally. In other words, you could be shifted to another position within the public service carrying the same benefits and salary.
Everything.
So it's lateral movement. The only way that you would be moved down is if you have been breached and disciplined or so that you could be moved down.
And only the Public Service Commission can do that.
Can do that.
Once you apply.
So you can move laterally and that sort of thing. Yeah. So this nonsense about, who is being punished and who is being victimized is absolute nonsense. And it has to be called out for what it is. Devon, I think we're out of time, man. We're sorry about that.
Yep.
Yeah, but we'll continue speaking about this one tomorrow because we know that you all want a lot more information on it. Remember, the rebroadcast of today's program will be taking place at 8 p.m. tonight, God's willing, and that's on 89.5 CRFM, and from 10 p.m. via 94.9 out there in Brooklyn, and then 3 a.m. again in the morning, you'll hear it playing again via our Hard Talk website. You can get it on Facebook, Hard Talk Grenada Live, and on YouTube, Hard Talk Grenada. You could view the video, all right? So that's all the time we have for Hard Talk today. My name is Sheldon Scott.
I'm Devon Romain.
And in whatever you say and do it safe and secure. We want to be speaking to and with you.
Not about you.
We are out of here. In fact,
peace out.
Yeah, we're good. We'll take a bow.
Yeah. Take a bow.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new National Party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.
Legal Affairs Minister gives government's commitment to finding a solution to the challenges facing the Bar Association. Details to this story and more in the National Report. With the details to the news for today, Monday, January 7th, I am Rakisha St. Louis.
The government of Grenada says it remains committed to finding a solution to the lack of suitable housing for civil and criminal courts and other matters affecting the legal fraternity. Minister for Legal Affairs, Honorable Kindra Mathurin-Stewart, says while there is some difficulty in finding a single space for all the courts and its facilities, they will continue to search for an interim solution to ensure the judicial system remains intact. On Monday, Bar Association members gathered at the car park of the Supreme Court Registry at Church Street to protest the state of affairs with the local courts and to call on government to come up with an urgent plan to comprehensively address the issues.
Government recognizes the challenges faced presently by the Bar Association, by the judiciary, the judicial arm of the state. And as a government, we continue to work on finding long-term, short-term solutions to some of these challenges. Of course, it has been very difficult for us to find a single space to accommodate all the 4 courts and, of course, the registry, court reporting unit and other facilities of the court. But as a government, we continue to work on an interim solution to ensure that these issues are dealt with as best as possible. Government remains committed to a long-term solution, and that is, of course, our halls of justice. With respect to our court operations, the Supreme Court Registry, government also recognizes various challenges there as well. And for instance, we have taken various steps to address and to improve the efficiency and productivity, especially as it relates to the court reporting unit and, of course, the Supreme Court Registry. So all in all, we are quite aware, and we are not just talking, but we will be putting necessary resources into those areas to ensure that our judicial system remains intact.
Minister Mathurin-Stewart also commended the President and membership of the Bar Association for working with government to find a solution to the problem.
They really cooperated and with us during this process, and we continue to work together. I believe that is the only way, the only how that we can find a solution once the parties that are involved really continue to work together. And the Bar has been working with us at the Ministry of Legal Affairs and with the government, and of course it's something that we expect to continue in the future.
Member countries of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union are working towards strengthening their banking systems. The 2015 Banking Act was recently passed in the Upper House in December 2018 following amendments to the bill. The Banking Act of 2015 has been the topic of discussion within the Union's member countries as they seek to bridge gaps within the financial sector. Senator Dr. the Honorable Winston Galway said one benefit to be derived once the Act is passed is the establishment of a system that can operate failed financial institutions until an investor is found.
Banks oftentimes will find themselves into difficulties, probably become insolvent, as the case may be. And a bridge bank will be established by the regulator or the central bank to operate a failed bank until a buyer can be found for its operation. And that's basically what the definition is. So in this case, we're saying here, Mr. Deputy President, a bridge bank is a temporary bank created by the central bank or, in some cases, the regulator, in order to operate an insolvent or failed bank for a defined period of time, which usually is 12 months or maximum 4 years. In our jurisdiction, we look at 4 years. Some jurisdictions, they have 3 years.
According to Senator Galway, the 2015 Act is harmonized within each ECCU member state as they work towards strengthening the financial and banking system.
It reflects the views of stakeholders from 2015. The legislation also is harmonized within the region and within all the territories of the ECCU. So what we're passing here is what will be passed in all the other ECCU countries, Dominica, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, and the like, St. Kitts, and so forth. But the objective here is to ensure that our banking system within the region is tight. Whatever gaps may have been existing is now closed, and to ensure that the investors' monies are protected.
This is the National Report. We'll have more news after the break.
We're back with you to continue the work
We need you to improve our Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique.
So how can we invest more in the sporting arena to bridge that gap for a lot of young people?
I think there should be more forums like this.
We need to find a way in which to combat that. Now,
join us for the next Contributors Forum on Tuesday, January 8th, 2019 from 7 p.m. at the Croshu RC School in St. Andrew.
Welcome back. The Royal Grenada Police Force says it will not rejoice over the collection of over $70,000 in revenue from traffic violations. Head of the Traffic Department, Inspector Linford Kingston, made the statement during the RGPF's first press briefing for 2019. He said the increase in revenue in that area speaks volume to the levels of lawlessness in the country. The Traffic Department and advisory body will embark on an awareness campaign this week to educate Grenadians, especially drivers, on the importance of road safety, parking laws, and other pertinent areas.
Based on the revenue collected from the 6th of February to the ending of December, we have collected some $73,000 and for vehicles that was clamped for violating our no parking sign. And this to me isn't good news for me. It therefore means that we have a lot of work to do still, right? Because we have made sure that we have put up our no parking signs, and we have even put additional information on the sign as a means of deterring drivers, but yet for they still find persons parking there. So it goes to show that there is a bit of lawlessness, right? And we really need to bring that under control.
ACP Jesmond Prince explained that the division will also be collaborating with the Ministry of Works in 2019 to train traffic wardens.
We anticipate that there will be some traffic wardens distributed throughout Grenada and Carriacou. I can't tell you exactly when they would be on the streets, because of course they would have to go through some training and all of that. But the process has started, and we are working in collaboration with the Ministry of Works, who would have a major responsibility in this effort. And so we anticipate that in the not too distant future we may see quite a number of persons out there performing that function as traffic wardens. So rest assured, it is coming on board. I can't tell you exactly when yet, but it is coming on board. We've started the process, and so we expect that very soon we would see some actions on our streets in that regard.
He said with the introduction of the wardens, policing will be made easier.
Once you're parking a no parking sign, the traffic officers who are moving around will do the necessaries, whether to give you a ticket or to apply the clamp. Whichever is applicable at the time, they would use that to deal with the matter. But we wouldn't always find all of those violations. I think with the wardens coming on board, they will be able to be better policed and avoid anybody parking or stopping in a way to cause an obstruction.
And finally, the Parliamentary Elections Office says the official consolidated list of electors as of December 31st, 2018 will be available for inspection from Thursday, January 10th, 2019. The office says there will be a 7-day period for claims and objections regarding the list from January 10th to 17th, 2019. The list can be found in each parliamentary elections constituency office and at post offices, police stations, medical stations, and other public places. The office adds that requests for alterations or corrections of any error in the name, address, or polling division of any registered person should be submitted to the registration officer of the constituency on or before January 17th, 2019. That story just ended the national report for today, Monday, January 7th, 2019. Now to recap the top story. Legal Affairs Minister gives government's commitment to finding a solution to the challenges facing the Bar Association. On behalf of everyone who made this newscast possible, I am Rakisha St. Louis saying thank you for joining us. Until next time.